Well, hello my lovelies. You will know if you've seen me before in any of these videos that I am a little bit obsessed with thinking, how we think about absolutely everything. And this week it's makeup. And most specifically, the 3 most important changes you can make to your makeup bag. Now, I sat for about an hour with my very good friend, Natalie James, and she pulled apart my makeup bag and told me what I should be doing and what important changes I could be making to optimize my products and the colors that I use and the textures that I use to line up with who I am and how I want to be perceived. It's all about communication, and it's specifically about minimizing distractions. I included the whole conversation for you here because there were so many gems, so many ways of thinking about makeup that Natalie brought to the conversation, and I just wanted you to be able to get inside her head and see things through her eyes. So it's all here for you. About 2/3 of the way through, she gives the 3 important changes that you can make to your makeup bag. If you can only do 3, do these 3. And there's also peppered throughout tips and recommendations for go-to products for all kinds of uses that will enable you to communicate yourself effectively through the makeup you wear. So enjoy this. This is Natalie James in conversation with me, all about makeup. We're here for my makeup bag detox.
Yes.
So you're going to get out the fluff and bring in some life to my makeup.
Wonderful. What a pleasure. So I can see that you've already split it up. So we've got Naomi's skincare, her usual kind of base products. We have a brush here, some cheek, some lips, some eyes, which is all fantastic. And I think the majority of women would have a combination of some of these products in their makeup bag. But what tends to happen is that we're creatures of habit and we get stuck in a rut. So we end up wearing the same liner for 10 years, the same lipstick for 5 years, the same base. And that can make us energetically feel quite tired and a bit kind of old hat. And what I'm really interested in, and when I work with clients, is finding a way to use makeup to ignite more of an energy, to bring a kind of freshness to the way that they present themselves out in the world. So let's start with that, because I think
let's do that.
If we take your values of being fresh and different, let's take fresh first, because that kind of links nicely to skin.
Yes.
So one of the things that I think is most important, and before you make any changes to your makeup, is to think about the way that you look after your skin and the way that you prep your skin.
Yes.
Because so more often than not, we're very busy people, we have kids, we have families, husbands, jobs, etc. And skincare can kind of take a bit of a back seat because of time.
Yes.
So one of the things I would encourage you to do is to look at the skincare that you're currently using. Are you cleansing off your makeup every night? It's an absolute must, because you want your skin to breathe overnight, and that's also when your skin is repairing itself. Are you using semi-good quality products, more on the clean end of the spectrum, so fewer chemicals, fewer synthetics? Are you using anything nourishing, like an oil? You can get wonderful oils, very inexpensive oils on the market these days, to put some hydration back.
Yes.
So when you're thinking about, if you talk to me about the products that you've got here, so we've got a cleansing lotion, which is fantastic. You've also got a micellar water from Garnier, which is great. So micellar water is great for removing eye makeup, mascara, liner, and then your cleansing lotion is great for the rest of your base.
Yes.
Do you use a flannel to take your
cotton pads?
Okay.
Pads.
So cotton pads are great for eyes. I would encourage you to use a cleanser on dry skin. So, but literally in the palm of your hands. Partly because I worry about cotton pads not being biodegradable, etc. And like the planet, and it's all very important that we that we recognise that. So limiting the amount of waste that we're producing.
Yes.
So cotton pad with the micellar water to remove your eye makeup, then a bit of the cleansing lotion onto dry skin, then use a flannel, because you can obviously wash a flannel.
Like muslin flannel, or
like just a cotton flannel,
flannel,
like one you would use on your kids, you know, in the bath. So it's normal cotton flannel, and that will gently exfoliate your skin. And what that's doing therefore is cleaning off the day, cleaning off the pollution if you've been travelling, if you wear SPF, which hopefully we all do, taking the SPF off. And then your skin is clean and ready to receive the nourishment.
Okay.
And that's what's going to give the freshness the following morning, because when you come to put on your makeup the next day, your skin is very calm and very happy and very hydrated.
Yes.
So I notice here you've got
so
an organic night oil, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The bit that I'm most happy about with my makeup set is the moisturising I do. Because this my friend makes. And this is just handmade by my sister.
Beautiful.
Shea butter and almond oil. That's all it is.
Amazing.
So I feel really confident with that bit. The rest of it, I feel like it is tired and it's not thought through.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily work for my skin or my...
So there's two products I can immediately recommend for you on the skincare spectrum before we go on to makeup that will help the makeup sit better and give that freshness that we're talking about. One is a hyaluronic acid serum. So have you heard of HA? So hyaluronic acid is something that exists naturally in skin. As we get older, it depletes, and there are a ton on the market at the moment. Basically, essentially what they do, the molecules hold 1,000 times their weight in water, and it's like a serum. So a couple of pumps of the serum underneath your moisturiser is really going to plump up your skin. So often most people are dehydrated, so you want that canvas to be nice and plump and nice and hydrated. And you can also get, so I would definitely recommend an HA serum. And the second thing is, because we're over the age of 30 and we have fine lines, any makeup products that we put here is going to end up sitting in the fine lines. And whilst I have no problems with wrinkles at all whatsoever, I think sometimes it's nice to know that that canvas is as smooth as we can possibly get it. So an eye cream would be really good, because that's just going to brighten that whole area. So those would be the two additions that I would make. But your skincare is great. And then moving on to base. So you've got a primer. We've got
that should probably be further up.
Oh, so that's the highlighter. So we've got a mattifying primer, which is brilliant, and we've got a very natural foundation with an SPF in it, which is also brilliant. We probably don't have time to colour match, but what I would recommend doing is just checking that this shade is the right shade for you.
Yes.
Hugely important. There's one thing I talk to with my clients, which is the element of distraction. If there is any part of your makeup that is distracting, be it the wrong shade of foundation or a lipstick colour that's slightly too garish, it is going to detract for the people that are listening to you from what you're saying. So making sure your foundation matches exactly is really important. And the way to test is to test on your jawline. So a tiny bit on your jaw and then a tiny bit on your neck, because your neck tends to be lighter for most people than their face. So just making sure there's a really natural kind of ballpark shade in there is the first thing, but we can do that after. And then the other tip that I have for foundation and linking back to freshness is the finish of this foundation as dewy and as fresh as you can get it, so that you're really kind of telegraphing that value to people when they're looking at your face and they're looking at your skin. And I guess what you want is you want to be working with clients that can see that you look after yourself, that, you know, this is a woman who eats well, she gets sleep, or she values her sleep, she probably exercises, you know, she values her body, and the makeup that you wear will really communicate that to people. So if your foundation is too matte, it's actually going to take away the natural vitality that you've already got. So after the video, maybe we can test this on your skin and just see how, I mean, looking at your skin now, I'm assuming you're wearing this.
I'm wearing that one.
Yeah, it's a teeny bit dry.
Is it too matte?
I would say, do you wear it all over?
Yeah, all over.
Yeah, so this is a really killer tip. So one of the first things I say to people is stop wearing your foundation all over. Unless you've got terrible acne and you want the coverage, there is no reason why this part of your face can be almost makeup free. It's this part of our face that we want to conceal redness, tiredness. So tiny pump on the back of the hand, working on the T-zone. So I do a couple of dots, cheek, nose, chin, and I'm literally blending it out. So the concentration of product is down the T-zone, and it blends into nothing.
Hence why it needs to be exactly matched to your skin tone.
Hence why it needs to
tail it off and not notice.
Exactly. And then once you've mattified the T-zone, you've got lovely shine, because nobody wants to have a shiny kind of front part of their face. So that's where the primer you've got is fantastic. So a little bit of this under the foundation. But you want the glow. You want the glow on the outer edges of your face, because that's what natural skin does. So those would be the things, that would be a big change that you could make instantly that would radically transform.
And have you got a recommendation have you got a favourite foundation, or what's your favourite kind of finish?
Oh, I love this question. I don't think anyone really needs a truly matte foundation, unless you're blessed that you're 16 and you've got perfect skin, in which case the matte foundation will look glorious. But I think, especially in terms of contemporary makeup, it's all about the dew, it's all about the glow. So I would say, there are so many, I've got so many favourites, but Chantecaille Future Skin is a fantastic foundation, very glowy, very dewy. NARS do one called Sheer Glow, the name gives it away. There's a ton on the market, and even on the high street in Boots, you're basically looking for words like illuminating, glowy, dewy, light coverage. You want to be looking for light to medium coverage as opposed to full. Yeah. Full is rarely necessary. There's one by Glossier called Glossier Tint, which is unbelievably sheer. But it's less about, it's actually less about the product that you use and the way that you apply it. So if you imagine you've prepped your skin you've cleansed your skin the night before, you've worn the oil, you've got the HA serum, the hyaluronic acid serum, you've got a tiny bit of eye serum here. Your skin is so hydrated that by the time you put a teeny bit of makeup on the T-zone, it's going to press into the skin and look more like skin and look really fresh and healthy, but still with a sense of polish. And then you can move on to colour. So we've got a blush kind of contouring duo here. That's going to put the colour back into the skin, because obviously foundation slightly neutralises our natural skin tone. So we want that kind of rosy glow in the cheeks. And you can be much... And another massive tip is just less is more. Just use less. The least amount of makeup you can possibly get away with wearing tends to look the best, I think, on most people. And you're looking for that sense of vitality. So imagine you've just run on the treadmill, you're really hot, really flustered, you're feeling good, your heart's pumping, and you've got that glow, that kind of natural glow that comes to for lots of us it's beetroot red, but you know what I mean. But the kind of subtle glow of maybe 10 minutes after we've got off the treadmill, where we're just looking really healthy. Yes. It's that you want to mimic. So finding texture, so cream blush rather than powder blush, is instantly gives off freshness, or it telegraphs freshness as opposed to too heavy or too made up. And so it's great that you've got, I'd say
that's a powder.
Oh, is that a powder? Sorry, I thought it was a cream. So a big change, get a cream blush. Yeah, there are tons on the market. You can get these sticks. Not that there's anything wrong with powder blushes, by the way, but I think it's a more contemporary skin texture to wear.
If you're only going to use a few things,
you want the texture to be right. And save the powders for when you go out and and it's artificial light and you want to look a bit more glammed up. So there are tons of cream blushes. One thing I would say, looking at the shade range for you, because you're pale, classic English rose, and you're freckly, veer less. Often people choose blushes on the basis that they look pretty. Oh, I like this pink. Isn't that a pretty pink? But very few people can wear pink without it looking kind of a bit dolly. Yeah. So go for more of a peachy tone, like an apricot kind
with some brown in.
Some brown.
Just looking at your blush. Exactly. I'm thinking that's definitely got some brown.
Yes, exactly.
In there,
pink. And it's almost like the blush, when you look at it, will be quite an unappealing colour. You'll say, well, that's not as pretty as the pink one.
Okay, that's so good.
But when it's on, it will give that sense of natural vitality that we're looking for.
So good. And can you help me with eyes? Because that is probably the thing that I find the most daunting and intimidating. And I'm scared of going overboard and looking like I've tried too hard, or...
Yeah.
What would you, for my eyes and for what I'm trying to do with the fresh, warm approach?
Yes.
What would you be doing?
So, a couple of things. You've got amazing blue eyes. So bronze is typically the shade that would make your eyes really stand out, but you want to go for soft bronzes rather than harsh, especially because you work a lot with one-to-one, so one-to-one clients, and you want to encourage that eye contact. If you're wearing a brown liner that's got too much of a defined edge, it can come across as a bit harsh, and you want to soften that. So there's a shade that's very popular at MAC called Teddy. Is a very it's kind of a rich coppery brown, but it's got a softness to it. That would be great for you. Investing in a brush, for example, something like a smudging brush. So once you draw your liner on your lower lash line or your upper lash line, just softening the top or the bottom edge just a little bit helps with that. I mean, it sounds as if it wouldn't have that much of a that much of a difference, but it really does. Another really good tip is when you wear your mascara, any mascara, doesn't really matter. Most mascaras clump, and our lashes can get quite spiky, which is obviously the opposite of a natural lash. Yeah. So buy a clean mascara spoolie, and just comb through your lashes. So once you've applied it with a clean spoolie. Okay. So apply your mascara as you would, zigzagging up. Give it 30 seconds to dry. Yeah. And then clean spoolie, brush. And I tend to go on the top of the lash and curl up, and then from under. And it will it's almost like brushing through hair that's had hairspray on it. Yeah.
Like breaking the mold
and just softening, and you'll just find that you get the same kick of the mascara, but with a much more feathered, much more natural lash, and that will really help again with the whole freshness and openness, because people aren't distracted by spidery lashes.
Yes.
And then when it comes to brows, because brows are obviously part of the eye area, brows are brilliant at framing your face. So if you're not used to wearing any kind of brow products, it's a very good idea to have a look at a very natural taupe. So the key thing with brows is you want them to be elevated, because that encourages an openness of face, but they also help to frame your face, give you structure. They also help you look less tired. So I typically just run a brown mascara through my brows. I mean, I've let my brows grow quite bushy because I've got a fringe. But if you need to add a few more hairs in, strategically, a very natural brow pencil, but make sure it's exactly the shade of your brows, or ever so slightly. It should be 2 shades warmer than your natural hair colour is the kind of rule of thumb. Okay. Just adding in a couple of hairs, and then maybe a brow mascara to add some oomph, and that will really transform your look. So I would do that.
Yeah, my brows get no attention, so
interesting.
That would really... Yeah, I have a couple of pencils, but I've just brought the things that I actually use rather than the things that I've got and think, oh, that's a good idea. And I don't know what to do with them. So
And have you been using these products for quite a long time? Have you do you feel stuck in a rut?
This... Not so long, and I'm happy with this at the moment.
That's the foundation.
But these as you can see, really stubby.
Yeah.
I've used too loads.
Oh, it looks like an old, well loved.
Yeah.
An old fave.
Could definitely do with a refresh.
Okay, brilliant. Well, there's one product that I'm thinking for you that could be an instant win. It requires a bit of practice. It's essentially a liquid liner, but for brows, which sounds terrifying, I know. But it's by a brand called Glossier. And you can buy it online, and you would be the blonde shade, so that makes it easy. Yeah. And essentially it's a very, very fine, almost like calligraphy pen, and you would literally just follow the natural direction of the hairs of the brow, just to add a few more. We're just talking a handful, maybe 10 hairs on each brow, and it will just give you more of a frame to your face, and then a brow mascara on top. That would be a really good.
Great. I'm going to do those. Yeah. Because you said to me earlier, make 3 changes.
Yes. I always say to clients, if you could because it's all about making baby steps. So makeup's fantastic because it's a vehicle for change. We can change things very, very quickly. We can go from a neutral lip to a red lip and feel very different about ourselves. And it's really important to say that makeup should never be a mask. It's never a mask, but makeup is fantastic at igniting the sparks similar to putting on a pair of heels or a tailored jacket. It's that sense of, I feel good. I feel really good in this lip colour. And really kind of channeling that. So if there are 3 things that you could change, I'd say one is definitely the shade of lip that you're wearing, whether it's a tinted lip balm or a gloss or a really matte, if you're into matte lipsticks, picking a colour and maybe going to a counter and consulting with the person behind the counter. What shade would you give to me? And if I was being brave today, if I was feeling really tip-top, what kind of shade, what bold shade would you recommend? And then just trying them on, and you'll know when you find the right shade, because you get that feeling. It's that pair of heels that you can walk in that just feels really, really strong and powerful. And it's the same with makeup. So changing your lip. I'd say for most women, doing a brow, some kind of brow, because as we age, our brows get more sparse. Or if we're, children of the, teenagers in the 2000s or in the 90s, we would have plucked them to high heaven, and then they never grow back. So using the fabulous brow products that are available now, just to put in a few more hairs, maybe a brow mascara, give them a bit of lift, give them a bit of definition. And then the third thing I would say is definitely the choice of foundation, because I think that's the thing that most women get wrong, and sometimes not through any fault of their own. They've been to a counter. Invariably the person behind the counter is quite possibly inexperienced. Different brands have different approaches. Some brands encourage women to wear foundations that are too dark for them or slightly warmer than their skin tone, because obviously the tanning is very popular, and they think that women want to look like that.
It's a way to tan.
But the problem with that is it becomes distracting because it doesn't look like the rest of your body. So think about shade. If you are up for changing your foundation, think about the shade of your foundation, think about the texture. So how do you want your skin to look? If you want it to look like you're not wearing hardly anything at all, and you don't want your foundation, you want a sense of polish, but you don't want it to be distracting, then go for a dewy or an illuminating or a light coverage foundation. But make sure it is your skin tone, your exact skin tone. And you might find that in the summer you need 2. So you need one for winter, one for summer. Because most of us, either whether you self-tan or not, most of us tend to go 2 shades warmer in the summer, be it through self-tanning or just through the sun, and in the winter. So making sure that, you've got 2 of the same. Once you find the formula you love, 2 different shades.
Yes. Okay. And let's talk about lip. So my staple is my Bobbi Brown.
Oh, lovely natural shade.
I really like the shade of, but it is quite light.
Ballet
and it
pink.
Stay.
Oh, it's an old fave. Yeah.
And then I put this in because it really doesn't work.
Oh, so that's the Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink. It didn't work for you?
It's just the wrong shade of red.
Oh, why is it the wrong shade, do you think, for you? I'm just going to pop some on my hand here.
I was hoping you'd tell me.
It's interesting because it's not actually, looking at it now, holding it up to your skin tone. So it's a bluer red rather than an orange. You see, it's interesting because with your leopard print and with the way that you normally dress bright colours, I would love to put you in more of an orangey, like a warmer, even though your skin tone says to me in the rule book she needs a cool toned red. I think your brand is just crying out. You're crying out to wear something a bit more brave, because you're encouraging your clients to be brave. So I think something that's, and we're not talking like an orange lip, but we're talking about a red lipstick that has a fraction more warmth than a cool toned red.
Because I'm drawn to the bold lip.
Yes, and you look great in a bold lip. And most women do look great in a bold lip.
And then the reality is often I do it and then I take it off and I'll do something more subtle.
Oh, interesting.
So finding...
Is that because you don't have confidence in the shade of red?
I think it's the shade. Because I have no problem being like, I'm wearing a leopard print, as you said.
Absolutely.
Wearing something bright, but I think I have gone too much to the,
that's really interesting.
Cool reds rather
the cool
than...
reds.
The corally, slightly browny.
Yeah, and it could also be the texture. So this is a matte ink. So in theory, it should die down into a very, very dry, almost like a stain. again, texture has a huge psychological change. When I work with clients, so I do personal shopping at Liberty, and I take clients around the different counters and we try different textures on. And it's interesting, you can see almost like a change in their body language, the way that they hold themselves when they get the right texture for them. And there are no rights or wrongs, and this is why it's so great to experiment. But if you've never worn a matte lip, for example, give it a go. Just notice how you feel with the colour and the way the texture's feeling on your skin. And equally with a gloss, because glosses are making a comeback, and tinted balms are really big right now. Just, walk around in it a bit, go outside, have a look at it in the daylight. So it could be that the texture's throwing you. Yeah. Possibly.
Yeah, no, you're right, it could be.
Possibly. But this shade that you've chosen here, the natural, so this is the Ballet Pink by Bobbi Brown, it's veering on the dolly side. So when I talk about the kind of girly, it's, I think, for your business and for the power, the kind of sense of power that you bring to your work.
Not strong enough.
It's not that it's not strong enough, it's the nuance of the colour. I think it needs to be more earthy, because you're very grounded as an individual. And the baby pink, the kind of nature of ballet pink, even the word ballet is very, very soft.
Yeah.
And girly, it slightly jars with who I know that you are and who you're telegraphing.
So interesting.
So rather than, this is a cool tone pink as well, so again, you're looking for warmth. So it might be that the nude lip or the natural lipstick that you've chosen has a touch more brown to it. So it's going to look less appealing. It's not going to look as pretty in the bullet. And again, this is often where women go wrong, because they buy shades that look, I mean, I've used to do it for years. Oh, that looks like a gorgeous shade of eyeshadow. I'd love to wear that. But then actually when it's on, it doesn't quite sit in the right way, but it looks beautiful in the pan.
Yeah.
So just try more of a brownier natural lip. And try different textures as well, play around with. I'd say my one rule of thumb with gloss is that glosses can be very distracting. So if it's a gloss that kind of pats down, sometimes I'll put a gloss on and then just pat it with a tissue, just take the top edge off. So it's not so, because glosses are very glamorous.
Yes.
And there's a need for glamour on certain occasions, and there's a need for something a bit more natural. And if you're wanting your makeup not to distract from what you're saying, then the more you can do to use these natural hues and use textures that look almost undone, the better it will come across.
Yeah. So can I ask you, Nat, obviously you do one-to-one lessons and consultations with people. Because what I'm hearing so strongly from you is know yourself.
Know yourself, yeah.
Understand what you're trying to say, what you're trying to telegraph with your makeup.
Yes.
And get really confident in that. You, I guess, in conversation with you, you'd be able to draw that out. But for people who are watching this, who need to begin to know what they're trying to do so they can find the products that match.
Okay.
Have you got any first steps? How do you help people do that?
Well, I've actually done this process myself because as you know, I used to work in advertising for many, many years, and then I wanted to work for myself, so I became a makeup artist, and I had this vision in my head of I really want to work with business women. So I had been this persona in my advertising career, which is very different from who I was. And when you launch any venture, you become very exposed. Suddenly you're very exposed because you're not playing a role, you're being yourself, and there's huge power in being yourself. And so one of the exercises that I think my coach at the time got me to do was to tap into the words that really resonate with me. So I'd say one of my values is, clients often talk to me about my openness. I'm very open, I'm very honest. And that comes from a really good place, and it comes from a caring space, because I want to help my clients find the right products for them. And I realised that in my advertising days, I was wearing quite a mask. I was trying to be something I wasn't. So my makeup evolved as well. So when I left advertising and started working on my makeup business, I started looking at the makeup I was wearing and was it quite harsh? And was I wearing shades or makeup that was quite heavy, unnecessarily so? And then trying on different things. So I'd say the first step would be to think about words that really sit well with you And it might be words like fiery, you know, I'm a fiery character, I'm a tour de force, or I want to be a tour de force.
Yeah.
Or I'm a very nurturing character. And in my job, I can see that there's a role for me to be more nurturing, and how can I visually communicate that that's who I am.
Yeah.
And maybe the shade of lipstick I'm wearing at the moment doesn't say nurturing.
Yes.
Maybe it says something completely different. So maybe pick 3 words that really resonate with you, and then have a look at spill out your makeup bag. And obviously makeup is just one vehicle for change, but it's an instant win because it's accessible.
Yeah.
High street brands offering fabulous textures at the moment. You don't have to go to Selfridges or one of the bigger stores and blow a fortune, and you can make really small changes. So baby steps, you know, try on a different lip, or try a cream blush if you've never used one before and you're terrified, and just see how that makes you feel. And does it sit with that word that you've chosen, be it open or fiery, or, you know, does it link up with that word? And you'll know, because that it will spark the fire.
Yes.
It will definitely spark the fire.
Yes. So you're looking for that inner witness, or the inner resonance with both the word and the product.
Yeah.
And the the external expression of that.
Yes, exactly, the external expression.
What does that feel like for you? Like, if you're not used to things not only sounding good but feeling right, how do you...
Oh, well, we've talked about this before in terms of... so I was talking to Naomi about working with a client recently on a shopping trip. And there is something that happens. It's often quite difficult to describe, but it's almost like I talk to you about getting in the zone. I feel like I'm in the zone. And when I talk about makeup, I feel a rush of energy. And having had it not been my previous career, I can really see that change in me. It just feels good. It feels fiery. It feels energizing. It feels warm. It feels giving. All of those things. And it's almost as if time can pass and you're unaware of, you're having such a good time.
Very good.
And it's funny, I often say to my clients at the end of my sessions, and obviously I'm charging for my services, but I often say thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed that, because I get so much out of it too.
Yeah.
And that's when you know that you've hit your sweet spot,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it's firing your belly.
Yes.
And you'll get the same feeling by the clothing that you wear. So if you want to change up your styling.
Yeah.
And back to your point about, you can go to an expert and say, because there are general rules of thumb, if you're this height and this shape, or if you're this skin tone and that eye colour,
Yes.
these are your kind of starting points, but there are no rules. It's what feels good.
Yes.
But use those guidelines to kind of get you started.
Yes.
So, right, I know I'm going to suit a more browny, orangey, kind of apricot-y blush. Let's go with that and see how that feels.
Yeah.
But when you hit the right shade, you'll just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So doing your research, both conversations with people who live and breathe makeup.
Yes. Yeah. And hair and shoes and styling and all of those things.
All of those.
Because they all visually telegraph who we are.
They do. And they can all be levers to tune us in to who we really are.
Exactly. They're all levers
tune
for
us
change.
out.
Yeah.
Know yourself and then go for it.
And then
In
go
the
for
makeup counter, look for that spark, that feeling of energy, that feeling of it feels good.
Yes. And don't try and change too much too quickly, because that's just a recipe for disaster. So, pick 3 things. I'm going to change. I'm going to get a brow, a foundation and a lip, and try a bunch of stuff on. Whatever feels good. But even if you only end up with the lip, if you haven't really netted out the foundation and the brow, just try wearing that lip with your usual makeup and notice the difference in how you feel. And it will trigger other things. Suddenly you'll be thinking, oh, and I think I'd like a haircut. I think I'd quite like to change, because it sparks you in a way, it also opens up the energy for more change. So it's a catalyst for even more change. Often when I work with clients, we'll do a makeup session together and then they'll ask me about nutrition. And I'm not a nutritionist, so I veer them off into the direction of someone who knows. Or styling, or I've been thinking about changing the way I style myself, or I'd quite like a haircut. What would you say for me? Because it does springboard.
Yes. Yeah.
Even something as simple as a lipstick can massively springboard you into other areas of the way you visually present yourself. So that's why it's so exciting.